And now, our feature presentation.
I like it spooky.
Hey everybody, welcome to the I Like It Spooky Horror Podcast. I'm Bryan.
I am Clint, and we're going to tell you right off the bat, we are covering this episode, Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things. But the funny thing is, right before we sat down to record, I'm talking with my new friend Rebecca, and she says, what's that movie you're covering? Don't Let Children Eat Dead Things? I was like, oh, no, it's Children Shouldn't Eat with Dead Things. We got a good laugh out of that. If you're going to cover Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things, then you have to have on the show, Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things aficionado, Mr. Bryan Hoover.
Hello, everybody. Good evening.
He's been dying to do that intro. This is actually how Hoover and I met. I was vending at inkmirrors.com at the first year of Motor City Legacy. And he came by and saw my Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things t-shirt, bought a shirt, sat there and chatted up a storm. And immediately we both knew that we were fans of the movie. And I said, anybody who knows what this movie is good people and good company. So I guess we'll keep him around and have him on the show someday. And here he is.
Glad to be here.
We're excited to hear about all your love for Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things. And
I thought his way, no, it's Don't Let Children Eat Dead Things.
I ate dead things this afternoon. We went to a barbecue.
Oh, okay. While we try to figure out the name for sure of the movie we're covering, before we get to that, let's get to some news.
So my news this episode, if you've listened before, you know that I love physical media. And we got news from Variety, which is, that's pretty far up the totem pole as far as like legitimate news. That Shudder IFC Films, they've inked a distribution deal with Severin Films. And they're going to cover 11 movies, I believe. They've given you like 6 or 7 of them. The one I'm most interested in is The Autopsy of Jane Doe. I sent our friend Matt Harding a message with the link, and he just hearted it. And I was like, I'm so fucking excited for Severin to cover these films. Because usually you get, and nothing against Shudder or IFC, but you get a bare bones. Sometimes they go to Dollar Tree release for their films. And they don't make that quality of films. They make good films. So I'm super excited for this.
So is this going to be like IFC is kind of re-releasing titles that Severin Films peddles? Like what was it, Deep Red? They're going to just all the old Italian sleaze movies, or are they going to be partnering up and making new films?
No, it sounds like for now they're just going to re-release some films that are, and it mostly looks like foreign films. I don't think Autopsy of Jane Doe is foreign, but Andre Orville is the director.
That sounds pretty foreign to me.
They're doing Maniac, which is a remake, Baskin, Antiviral, Satan's Slaves are some of the movies, but they only gave you like 6, so there's still 5 or 6 more to come.
That's really cool because there are still people in the horror genre, I think, who, fans of the genre who don't know much about the Italian sleaze or about those mid to late 70s kind of Italian horror films and stuff. So it's really cool that it's going to get a wider audience or a bigger platform and hopefully bring back some really cool filmmaking, really cool style of filmmaking.
Well, this is all new stuff. All these films are from the 2000s. They're newer stuff that maybe didn't get wide release originally.
I knew Jane Doe was more modern. I guess, again, and that's my problem. I think Severin Films, and I immediately go to 1972, some Italian dude in a house hacking up someone and tossing a dead hooker into a bathtub full of, acid. That's what I thought we're going to see.
Don't forget, he's a taxidermist.
That's right.
He's got a gig on the side. That'd be his main gig. And then he's got something on the side. But yeah, these are newer films, I believe. Just stuff that never got a good release. Kind of got put on maybe a DVD and on the shelf at Walmart maybe, or in the Best Buy. But, Severin's going to do booklets and slipcovers, and hell, the Autopsy of Jane Doe might come with a body bag or something. I'm excited.
As long as this doesn't lead to Deep Blood or Deep Red, whatever it was, part 2, then I'm 100% on board with it. It was the worst movie ever. Jesus Christ.
Worse than Demoniacs?
Yeah, actually. Deep Red is worse than Demoniacs.
You ever seen Deep Red, Hoover?
I don't believe so.
Do yourself a favor and don't.
Don't do it. I thought you're going to pop up like Zombie Lake or something like that with the old Italian horror there.
Maybe not along those lines, but it's a Jaws ripoff.
Okay.
But it's more of a after-school special Jaws ripoff because the dad's drunk and the special effects were not good either.
Bad. The whole thing's bad. It's really bad.
But I had fun with it.
I enjoyed Blades.
Well, that's a Jaws ripoff too.
Yep, that was a good. That was a good one.
That's the better of the Jaws ripoffs. There's no shark in that one. So what do you got for news, Clint?
Yeah, I got a couple things here, and what's funny is we're at the point now where here on the I Like a Spooky Horror podcast, I feel like our news always is a throwback to an old episode. We were just talking about some stuff that takes you back to when we did the Severn double feature and covered Deep Red. Both bits of news that I got. One is from the Crypt Tease, Teaze on Facebook, and they announced that I'm gonna mess this name up. Oscilloscope, I did it, Laboratories, don't ask me to say that again. They just picked up the U.S. distribution rights to Adrian Bo's The Vertilac, an acclaimed 18th century vampire tale. They've also released the film's trailer. You can check it out in the comments. So you can go to YouTube probably and type up The Vertilac and check out the trailer. And what this is it's the same story that was the third story of Black Sabbath, which we covered on the 60th episode that had Boris Karloff in it. And the imagery just from the still photo that I'm looking from is disturbing. I'm sure the story is going to be a little more dramatic. Boris Karloff's obviously not going to be in it, so it's not going to have the star power, but it just looks creepy and amazing. So yeah, look for The Vertilac, which is actually a French horror drama, and it says that it will be released exclusively in cinemas on June 28th of this year.
Well, that's soon.
Real soon.
Yeah, I wonder if the Last Picture House will show it with those fancy cup holders.
It looks like a fancy cup holder type film. I haven't gone to look at the trailer yet, but I'm looking at the still image, and it just looks like a very well done kind of dramatic period piece. The image kind of reminds me of like Bram Stoker's Dracula, but the vampire himself is creepy. He's very sunken in and zombie-like and skull-like. It just looks really good. So again, I thought it was cool. It's a piece of news about something coming out, and it throws us back to episode 60 when we cover Black Sabbath. And then the next bit of news throws us back to another episode when we covered Rob Zombie's The Munsters, because our friends over at Remind Magazine, they put a story out recently that there is a dark reimagining of The Munsters coming called 1313.
No Mockingbird Lane?
Well, that's what it's supposed to be, is Mockingbird Lane, but they're just calling it 1313. In other news of why we can't leave the classics alone, The Munsters is getting another remake after the somewhat disastrous direct-to-video remake in 2022 from Rob Zombie. That right there is debatable. We here on the show enjoyed the film. Universal has announced a new version of the beloved series titled 1313, which is a reference to the Munsters' home on Mockingbird Lane. And it says here that this new series will be a darker reimagining of the 1964 classic. When we covered that on the Munsters episode, the Rob Zombie one that came out on Netflix, I remember that I said, I hope I don't see Rob Zombie turn, Herman Munster into a wife-beating drunk and that kind of thing and put that kind of sleazy, grimy Rob Zombie stuff on it. But since this is completely different, I kind of want to see this darker version. Everything we've always got has been very cartoony, which is the Munsters. Might be kind of cool to see a dark version of it.
Well, I wonder if they're kicking off some stuff because, Universal's opening up that Universal Monsters Park. So I wonder if that's going to be something that they push into the park. They wanted a little darker to go with Dracula and Frankenstein and the werewolf and all that kind of stuff.
I don't know. I do know that one of the showrunner names attached to this project is James Wan. So that might give you a clue on the direction that it's going to go. It does say here, this isn't the first time that a new Munsters show has been in the works. I didn't know this, but Bryan Fuller of another Bryan. There's too many fucking Bryans. We got two of them on the show. We got this guy I'm talking about. Everywhere I go, there's Brian Clark. Just too many fucking Bryans. Apparently, Bryan Fuller in 2012, he created supposed to be a new series, and it was going to be called Mockingbird Lane, but it never got past the pilot episode, and it served as a Halloween special in 2012. I didn't even know that existed.
I'm interested to check out more Munsters stuff. It's always fun. It's always got the classic monsters in it. I'd be interested to see what they do with it.
It says here that the original series is now streaming on Peacock, if you'd like to revisit that before 1313 comes out. It doesn't say where 1313 is going to be released, but it is coming from Universal, and maybe it's tied in with Peacock, and that's where it'll be. I do know that this is going to probably bring out another set of Munsters toys. We got the original Munster toys. We got the Rob Zombie Munster toys. We're probably going to have 1313 Munster toys, and all that shit together really makes me poor because I just keep buying all this shit.
Well, you know the Munsters is Gateway, so we might as well get the drinking out early in the show.
Well, I'm just spending more money buying a bottle.
So on this episode of Why Are We Poor, we went to Kentucky. Well, not we, but I went with my family to Kentucky. So this is a weird story. While in Kentucky, there's two things I wanted to check out. The Witch's Tree, which is downtown. And the story behind that is, and you can go watch the TikTok or the YouTube, witches used to meet there. The city was going to cut it down. They cursed the city. Something really bad happened. A lightning bolt hit the tree stump, and this tree grew back. And it's twisted and nasty looking. And it looked like the house behind it was condemned. But people will go there and leave trinkets and stuff there for good luck. And if you take something, it's bad luck. We were downtown. We checked it out. But then the next place we went and had dinner. And I was like, we're close to Pope Lick Park. And there's a legend in Kentucky, the legend of the Pope Lick monster. It's part goat, part sheep, part man. And the legend is there's some train trestles that look abandoned, but they're not. They're actually quite busy, that run over the highway. And the legend is there's this creature that'll hypnotize you and make you walk up there, and then a train comes and hits you. Well, there's been like 7 people go up there and die because they think the train trestle's closed, and then the train comes and you ain't got nowhere to go. It's a one-way, it's not like a true track, it's just one track.
This isn't poor. This is just fucking depressing.
So we go to check that out, and we drive into the park, and I'm like, I don't see anything. There's nothing. And so we're like, hey, there's a bathroom. Let's go to the bathroom. So we stop. We go to the bathroom. There's all these kids like playing lacrosse, playing soccer. So I like look around the corner, and it says open. So there's a little gift shop in there with 2 escape rooms. They got a big statue of the creature. They had Pope Lick monster stickers. And then they had greetings from Pope Lick, which is the train trestles. Welcome back. Oh, y'all come back. And it's got like a picture of the goat man. And then I bought a Pope Lick t-shirt. It says, amazing, exciting, spectacular on the big screen. Midnight cryptid show. Thrills, chills, fun. Legend at Pope Lick. Live in person, the goat man. And the guy ended up knowing our friend Justin Beam from, we started talking about Boggy Creek. And I was like, oh yeah, my friend worked on Boggy Creek, the new release. And he's like, oh, who's that? So Justin Beam, he's like, oh, I remember reading him in Fangoria magazine. I was like, what the fuck? Like how I'm all the way in Kentucky at this little, I don't know, like place shopping.
As big as the horror universe is, it's actually relatively small.
That's who I was talking to conventions about. And then he's like, well, you guys will probably never be back here. But if you come back, stop in and see me. But I'll take you and show you the Pope Lick baby, a little baby with goat horns that like grew back. And then we stopped at the gas station to buy a drink, and like 40 bikers pull in behind us, so we couldn't get out. They're like, oh, you ready to leave? And we're like, no. And I was like, Finley, you want to take a picture with him? And the guy had given her some goat horns. So she's like, only if I can wear my goat horns. So I got a picture of her with like 20 bikers and me and her, and she's got these goat horns on.
I don't even know what to say about it. I'm surprised that Finley didn't like ride off with the bike gang, beat your ass, take your money, and just leave you there. She's sitting in a bar doing shots somewhere right now.
Get your motor running. Head out on the highway. Born to be wild.
She's looking around going, gateway, gateway, gateway.
So those were the 2 things that I wanted to do in Kentucky. The one was free, and the other, I mean, I bought a t-shirt and some stuff, but it was just cool to randomly notice the place was open, and they do movies. They're doing July 20th, they're doing Lake Placid, and August 10th, they're doing Aliens. And then in October, they have the Goat Man Festival. Oh, and they're showing August 31st, Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. So they just like have people out there. And
I'll go to that one.
put up a projector. They may show them inside the place. Finley and I did a little video with the Goat Man, and it was just a fun stop on the road.
I was going to say the Indiana Jones one, that's right up Hoover's alley. So something we haven't got to yet, I know that we're in the middle of a pour segment, but actually you can actually go pour because you can check out Bryan Hoover at different conventions around the country. And our friend Bryan Hoover here is an artist and comes up with some amazing renditions, some amazing traditional painted artwork. And have you ever done the Goat Man? Have you ever gotten into cryptids or anything like that? I know you've done a lot of like horror movie stuff, but any cryptids?
No cryptids yet. I mean, I was planning on probably whipping up a couple because we got Motor City Nightmares coming up soon. So I'm trying to sling as much artwork as I can right now for the end of July. So I might throw in a couple of cryptids, maybe some Sasquatch, Mothman, a couple other ones maybe. Because I know a lot of people are into that stuff too, like big time.
Well, and I mean, now that we've covered the Goat Man here on the I Like It Spooky Horror podcast, the Goat Man is an instant classic. So I would suggest, if you have time, I know you're a busy guy, that maybe you should do the Pope-lick Goat Man. All I can picture is like the human part of him has got like a big Pope hat and he's got like a rosary or something, like some possessed pastor with red eyes.
They had like an 8-foot tall statue in there, floor to ceiling. So it might even been 10 foot. He didn't look very human. He looked more goat and sheep than anything. Not something I'd want to run into on a late night in Michigan.
Might be a fun time. You never know.
Well, it might be. So what do you got for your pour? You got anything, Hoover? Didn't you just go to somewhere? Where'd you go?
I recently went to Living Dead Weekend in Pittsburgh. It was a couple weeks ago, and I did spend quite a bit of money that I was not intending to. A lot of autographs, memorabilia type things. I'm a huge Flesh Eater fan. I know Clint really doesn't like that movie at all.
You're the only one, right?
I think so.
I tried so hard. I just couldn't get behind it. It was just a terrible story.
Yeah, I met the special effects guy that worked on Flesh Eater. Got his autograph, bought a Flesh Eater bust, talked for a little bit. Really nice guy. Jerry Gurgley. Who else did I see? It's funny because I had Dawn of the Dead poster book. I got a bunch of the original cast on it, a couple of side people. But when I was down there, they had a few new people I wanted to get signed. I was looking at some of the prices they were charging too. Felt that it wasn't really worth the price, I guess, that they were charging. So I didn't get anything signed on my Dawn of the Dead book. I met Greg Nicotero. Had him sign my Day of the Dead poster. Met Tom Savini again. Had my Night of the Living Dead 90 poster signed. Not a real talkative guy anymore for some reason. Met Tom Atkins. Had a Halloween 3 poster signed. Met Jason Lively. I know a lot of people were down there to have him get their Night of the Creep stuff signed. But for my childhood, I mostly remember him from National Lampoon's European Vacation. What I brought for him to sign was Power Station original vinyl. It was my turn to go up to have him sign it, and I set it on the table, and he's looking at it, hesitates, looks at it again, he goes, okay, yeah, I know what this is. Well, it was a dream sequence when he's on the plane, listening to some crummy music on his headphones, puts on his other set of headphones on, and they're playing the Power Station, Some Like It Hot, and then it goes into him in this European nightclub while he's dancing around with all these girls and whatnot. Well, that's what I had him sign on. My vinyl was Rusty, the European tour. Like what his jacket said. And he loved it so much. He was taking pictures of it, taking pictures with me with it. I mean, I think that was probably the highlight of the whole thing. And it wasn't even really horror related.
A lot of gas getting to and from places. You probably went and checked out the 2. You went to both.
The day we headed down there from Michigan, the first stop we went was the cemetery from Night of the Living Dead 90. And that's personally my favorite movie like ever. Just to finally make it down there, it was a dream come true for me. A couple of my childhood friends came along too. They were kind of just there for the ride. But I was down there taking pictures from like different angles, like had my head on the tombstone from when Johnny hit it. And yeah, after that we headed down. All the locations are right probably within like 5 miles of each other. We hit the cemetery. A few miles down was like the very opening road scene. You can see the Mercedes driving down. And then after that, we headed towards where the most of the movie was filmed at the house. But you can't really go up to the house. You have to see it from like a side road. Took a couple pictures and then headed back to the hotel after that.
Yeah, when we went out to Monroeville, that's one regret. That's one reason I will probably go back is we got the cemetery from the original. We went to the mall. We went to the Creep Show house. We went to the airport before it was torn down. I think that was it, but we never went to the house and graveyard from the 90 because it's kind of farther out. So we're like, we don't want to do that.
Yeah, I think it's about like an hour and a half to get out there.
It gives us a reason to go back out that way. And then I think, is Blairstown Diner out that way too, Clint?
No, well, Blairstown Diner is just in New Jersey. So when I went to the world premiere of Valentine Bluffs, a fan film, it was far east Pennsylvania. I forget the name of the town, but it was 20 minutes away or something, a half hour away from the New Jersey border. So it's still quite a ways away from Monroeville.
There's one other place I've been wanting to go down there. I think it's southeast of Pittsburgh. It's out in the middle of nowhere, but it's the opening scene of Tales from the Dark Side. It's like some random road to a park or something like that. But I've been wanting to...
Yeah, I've been wanting to go there too.
Why didn't we go?
Well, now you got a reason to go back.
Not enough time.
No, there wasn't enough time though. I got a late start that day. I was supposed to get down there sooner than I did, and it didn't work out. So we were going to actually, when I was down there, go check out some stuff too. Rebecca and I came down, and it just, time wasn't on our side that day. So. But I was poor as well from all those autographs. Like you say, some of the people are starting to charge more and more. It's getting a little ridiculous. I hate to complain because I want all of us to support each other, but it's getting tough to be a fan as far as getting autographs and stuff. So one of the reasons that I am poor this episode isn't really anything because I didn't buy anything. I do want to talk about a couple things though. That is like the last episode when we covered the Funhouse. We Brian talked about that Amic Toys and Monstars are releasing the Jordy Verrill action figure from the original Creep Show, and that's a Stephen King character covered in the meteor stuff, and he's turning into the plant monster and all that. Well, right about the same time, it was after we recorded that and reported that, I saw that our friend Josh Perlmutter at Bootleg as Fuck Toys just came out with a Jordy Verrill action figure under his Bootleg as Fuck Toys label also. And I honestly think, I haven't talked to him, but I don't know if it was just coincidence. But if you get a chance, get on Facebook, or I think he's on Instagram also, and check out Bootleg as Fuck Toys and check out his offerings. He's at horror conventions around the world, and he will not charge that much as an autograph to get his awesome toys. When I hopped on amictoys.com to pre-order the Monstars Jordy Verrill, I had no fucking clue this thing existed, and am blown away. And I haven't ordered it yet, but I'm going to. They offer a 10-inch Dead Alive Rat Monkey Sumatra replica. And if anybody's seen Dead Alive, also known as Brain Dead, love this fucking movie from Peter Jackson back in, what was it, 91? It all starts with this rat monkey who creates this crazy zombie outbreak. This thing is amazing. Go to amictime.com and scroll through their offerings and look up the Dead Alive Rat Monkey. It will be in my collection soon. And it's only $60, which sounds like a lot, but I mean, that's less than some of the celebrities charge for autographs, and it's 10 inches.
And you don't have to pay an extra $20 to take a photo with it.
Well, and it's not like you got to pay an extra to have this one signed, because I mean, it was a puppet. Who's going to sign it?
It's a puppet? Like you could... No,
I mean in the movie. It wasn't like an actor. Actually, I don't even think it was a puppet. It was just a motion animation, yeah. And I don't think Peter Jackson hits the con circuit.
Well, probably after 7, 8 years, whatever, however long Tiffany's been with me, $60 for 10 inches, she'd probably gladly play.
That's the second funniest fucking thing I've heard all day. Oh, good Lord. We don't...
I gotta go.
Yeah. How do we follow that one up, I mean, we can't even take it to a sponsor now. They're going to be like, I don't want to be on that show.
You got to pay for my lengthening surgery. They do that in China.
Stop while you're behind, my friend. Stop while you're behind.
I want one. Oh, I want one of those.
Bootleg as Fuck Toys.
You and Fuck sold separately. You can collect all of your favorite horror, sci-fi, and pop culture parody figure collectibles from Bootleg as Fuck Toys at various horror and pop culture conventions around the country. Keep up with Bootleg as Fuck Toys on Facebook and Instagram. Bootleg as Fuck Toys, taking the you out of fuck and throwing it right into fun.
From Blammo.
So now that we've heard from our sponsor, it's time for the movie. The 1972 Bob Clark. It's his first movie, right? First, like, major film?
I do believe this is Bob Clark's first film. It's definitely before his big hits that, the world would know him for.
Zombie, theater, classic. Children shouldn't play with dead things.
What I want to know is who the hell came up with the title for this, because it is such a great, catchy title, but it's just such a big ass, kind of clunky. It rolls off the tongue really well, but it's too wordy. That's a lot. It's a lot of words. It's a big title.
Probably somebody from the theater. Like, this is a theater group that's doing this movie, right?
Well, I don't think it was necessarily a theater group, but I mean, it was portrayed as the actors in the film were a theater group down in Florida who traveled to this island that was supposed to be this, burial ground, and it was going to be, I can't remember all the story now. I should have watched this. So spoiler alert, I didn't watch this film. This is the second movie on this podcast since I've been on here where I didn't watch it ahead of time because I've seen the movie so many times. And Murphy's fucking Law, now I'm trying to talk about it and I'm drawing a blank. It's probably because Rebecca said the name of the movie was Don't Let Children Eat Dead Things, not Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things. Now I'm getting my movies confused because for a second I thought, wait, you're talking about what's the movie with the moms? Flesh-eating mothers? I'm so confused.
The basis of the movie is, there's this theater group. It's run by Alan, and he's taking these people to this island, I think, to do a performance, possibly. Is that the way you understand it?
Pretty much. He's sending out this troupe of theater actors, actresses, I guess. Ends up playing a trick on them. Ends up diving into some witchcraft and whatnot to see if he can actually raise the dead and scare these kids.
The first half hour of the movie is pretty much Alan picking on everybody, and half of them picking on Alan back. But I caught myself laughing out loud because the banter was funny and the lines were funny. Black comedy almost. Not really a lot happens. They're traveling to get there.
Probably like the hemorrhoids joke or something like that.
Until like the last 5 minutes of that first half hour. And then something happens. And that's the best line for me in the movie is, I peed my pants. And he says it 5 times.
Jeffrey says it over and over to the point where the joke did start to get old.
I peed my pants. Alan is playing a trick on the other people, and he digs somebody up, or they're digging somebody up, and the guy comes to life, grabs one of them, and, scares everybody, and Jeffrey pees his pants. But the first half hour of the movie, to me, was my favorite. I mean, I know you guys are big fans of the movie, but for me, it was all downhill after that.
I'm really surprised you said that because you're more action and like to have fun, and you're not big on pacing issues and the character building. And I thought the first half of the movie, I'm not knocking it because I thought most of it was beneficial and moved the story along. But the first half hour that you're talking about was slow. And I thought almost too much character development and a little clunky, especially once they got into where they were doing the ceremonies and everything. I don't know. I thought once Orville pops out of the ground, they pop him out. I mean, it was go time. And after that, I figured that's when the action hit. You would enjoy it.
Well, I kind of cut this movie into 3 parts. That first part, the black comedy part, with that little bit of action on the end. This starts the middle where nothing really happened. I mean, Orville's out of the ground, but not much really happens. A lot more character building, story building. And then that last half, which is, I don't want to be that person, but kind of a shot-for-shot remake of Night of the Living Dead. A lot of that.
This movie is known to a lot of people as the poor man's Night of the Living Dead.
Well, you'd have to be really poor because I don't think Night of the Living Dead costs very much.
Well, what was that? It was $100,000, I think, was the production for Night of the Living Dead. Wasn't it 10 people, 10 grand a piece, I think? Image 10, that's where they came up with the name Image 10.
And this was shot in 14 days with a $50,000 budget.
I think they spent all their money on the wardrobe with all their striped pants and
That shit was pretty wild, but it was 72. That was the style back then.
I think I might buy some of those striped pants.
I never seen so many men in like tight, like now it's skinny jeans, or it was for a while, but it was like men in hot pants in these bright candy colored stripe. What was that gum? The zebra stripe gum. They're wearing the zebra stripe gum pants. You could see everything, even if you didn't want to. I think they spent a lot of the budget on all the tombstones, I think, or most of the tombstones in the set were all styrofoam. They were foam carved, which I thought, coming from the hunt industry, obviously they had the lighting and the fog and everything to surround it, and they could pick and choose how they set up the shots. But I mean, that was some pretty detailed tombstones to be foam carved, especially that amount of them. But yeah, I think the budget was spent on the tombstones and the fog. There was quite a bit of fog in this movie.
Well, and when you see that it took 14 days to film it and only cost $50,000, you're like, okay, for that, they did really well. For the makeup and the special effects at the end and all the action starts. My question, And here, you go ahead, and then I'll ask my question afterwards.
Oh, well, I didn't mean to interrupt, but thank you, kind sir. I will. I will interrupt you all fucking day long. So, no, my question is, I looked it up on Internet Movie Database to go over, see if I could find any trivia and fun facts like I always do. I actually learned a couple things we'll get to here in a little bit. Brian, did you find out like a gross, a domestic gross, anything like that?
I just found what it made, what it cost.
Nothing about what it made?
I mean, it was probably, sent to drive-ins?
This was a drive-in film, but yeah, absolutely.
The budget for it says it was estimated at $70,000.
Oh, okay. I saw 50,000. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't have a gross profit though.
I can't imagine by now it's not made its money back because, I mean, even at 70,000, it's got a couple releases on physical media. It's probably been reshown several times.
Well, and since we're talking about that, I will jump ahead into a fun fact, and that is that director Bob Clark, which there's some more fun facts coming along just based off that name, but director Bob Clark was planning to release a remake of this film in 2007. Unfortunately, though, he died in a car accident before production plans could get started. That is really fucking unfortunate. This is one of those movies that I think should, could, and would be remade. Bring it to a wider audience. People who have no idea, they've never heard of it. And although the original is great because of what it is and when it was made, I think it would be fun to see this remade as something a little different.
Yeah, I see that about the remake, but I don't see anything about what it would have made. But hell, I'm sure it made its money back. I can't imagine in 72 that it wouldn't have made its money at the drive-in. Hell, it probably had to screen at 6, 10 drive-ins to make fucking $70,000.
I don't know. Gas was only like 27 cents back then. Everything was cheap back then. So celebrities didn't charge $80
for an autograph.
Plus another 20 for it was a simpler time. Hey, Hoover, how about you tell us all the great, cool stuff that Bob Clark directed after this movie? See what some people might know him better for.
I know one right off the bat is A Christmas Story.
You're going to shoot your fucking eye out.
Poor kid. Didn't Alan Ormsby have some part of it too? Didn't he write some of it? I could have sworn I seen his name in the credits.
Special effects.
As far as Christmas Story?
No, he did Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things. He did special effects for Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things.
Alan Ormsby worked on Death Dream, and he also worked on Porky's too. But Bob Clark, of course, directed, we got Black Christmas. I mean, just legendary fucking slasher film. That's the granddaddy of slasher films, to some degree. Of course, he did, like you just said, A Christmas Story, which is classic. I mean, that movie plays on, TBS 24/7 during Christmas time, still back to back to back to back. I don't think there's anybody in the world who doesn't know that movie. Porky's, which if you haven't seen Porky's, I'm sorry, go and watch it. It's a great fucking movie. And it's kind of cool because and then Alan Ormsby took over, and I think he was the writer or the director of part 2. And if you guys remember, I don't know if either of you have seen Porky's 2, but it opens with the great cemetery scene where they take the kid to the cemetery and then a zombie comes out of the ground. It was a great throwback to the horror beginnings. So there's a lot of this great Americana that has come from these writers and these directors and people involved with Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things. And all that movie was a group of people who got together on a 14-day shooting schedule, and like the script was written in 10 days and knocked out this great little zombie horror flick, and then went on to do these amazing, iconic things.
Well, and that's what I tell people when I'm like, the guy that did A Christmas Story and Porky's and Black Christmas, and most people don't know Black Christmas if they don't like horror films. They're all iconic films in American cinema, and Bob Clark is Canadian. So this Canadian guy directs 3 of the most important films in American cinema.
Yeah, Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things.
Yep. Well.
Okay, I didn't know if you were including that. Yeah, he did some very important things in American cinema. So you know what? Just blame Canada.
I mean, Porky's, A Christmas Story, Porky's 2, Black Christmas, Murder by Decree. I mean, he did do Baby Geniuses and Baby Geniuses 2. We forget those.
He said, maybe we forget those. I got a feeling that Baby Geniuses 2 happens to be your favorite, Brian.
Oh, it definitely is out of those 2.
Did you see the rating of it? He got a 1.5 on IMDb.
That makes me want to watch it more.
As long as it says number 2, Brian's on board.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah. My question from earlier came out in 72. Texas Chainsaw Massacre came out in 74. Do you feel that Tobe Hooper had saw this film and was like, I can do something along those lines with Texas Chainsaw Massacre? And it was just the look of it, the feel of it, the group of kids. In the one part of the film, The girl even holds like the mask up to her face. That's like the skin. And I'm like, maybe I'm just looking too deep into this, but
Anya, which in real life, her name was Anya Ormsby, which real quick, and that's also something I want to point out about this film. And I think, Brian, you might have said, or maybe it was Underwood back when he was in the show, but something about, oh, they didn't have much for the script because all the actors' names were their real names. It was like Bob, played by Bob, Hoover, played by Hoover. You know, I forget all the character names. That scene alone where she holds up that skin mask he was wearing looked like a Leatherface skin mask. But yeah, this was pre-Chainsaw Massacre. So I get what you're saying, and both films had a grit to them. Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things had Tobe Hooper's signature grit to it. But I honestly my opinion, I don't think that it was influenced, because I think Children's grit was just budgetary, where Hooper's grit was choice.
And then the other movie I got feels of was Evil Dead. The cabin, the book, you know, the dead bodies. And again, it may have nothing to do with that, but I can just see Sam Raimi seeing this movie growing up and loving this film or liking this film and it giving him ideas or elements.
I think so. So again, I don't think there's much of a correlation between this and Chainsaw, but I do see the connection between Evil Dead. They both kind of had that quirky feel to them. And that's something else that I really love about Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things. It's one of those movies, it's fun. It's a fun, quirky ass movie. It's a drive-in movie, but it's not over the top hokey, and it doesn't take itself too seriously. And it does have a little bit of blood and guts. It's got some decent acting. It's got some great cinematography. I don't know. I mean, Brian's looking at me like, really? Is that what you just said about this movie? Hoover, man, we had you on because you are the Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things aficionado, and you're not backing me up here.
And everything you just said about the cinematography, the acting, I mean, well, the acting's not top tier, but the blood and the guts, it's got everything. The eerie feeling, the soundtrack is good. How everything just kind of leads up. How Brian said earlier, the first half is kind of slow. You get a little bit of meat in the middle, and then at the very end is like when everything happens is at the very end. So it's just a big build up. I love it. To me, it's a classic.
It's almost harder sometimes when you love a film to talk about it because you're like, I've seen it 50 times. What am I going to say that I haven't thought of before in my brain? And that last part, most people probably love the payoff at the end with Alan and Orville. But the funniest part and the best part to me was when the boyfriend runs out the back door. And it's like, fucking.
It's like, I'm going to make it. I'm going to make it to this boat.
He made it like 10 fucking feet to a tree stump.
You're moaning in the back.
Yeah.
Paul's like moan of pain was so awkward. It was like it's some weird, like it was like between like he stubbed his toe and he was having an orgasm. You couldn't quite figure out what the fuck. What is that sound that he's making? I don't know. Then he's, getting ripped apart.
I watched part of this film this morning, drinking coffee and eating a bagel, and I was sitting at a restaurant and people are probably like, what the fuck is he laughing about? What is he watching? And then I finished it at home, sitting there alone, waiting on a friend, watching part of the movie, just laughing out loud. Like, I don't know if I'm supposed to be laughing, but the guy pissing his pants is hilarious. Anybody got a fresh pair of pants? He's like 15 minutes after he pisses his pants, he wants pants.
I think one of the things towards the end of the movie, you talked about the payoff with the relationship between Alan and Orville, is it started to get into this weird, like, homosexual / necrophilia type thing. And, where Alan's trying to marry Orville, and then, like, he lays down next to him and talks about how they're going to be, I don't know. I didn't understand that part of what was going on. It was like Alan just kind of flipped and lost his mind.
Early in the film, or like in that middle part, Alan has his two cronies that help him pull the prank. And from what I gather, they're both homosexual. So in 1972, though, it's probably a big deal back then that was in this movie.
It might have been. So, I mean, I just assume that was because it dealt with a theater group. So it was very stereotypical. You know what I mean? That part, I didn't think was odd or a spotlight moment. I just didn't understand why at the end he wanted to like have this relationship with this corpse. I don't know. Just that at that point of the movie, it got from this kind of quirky, fun movie to this is fucking weird, And then of course it jumps to the zombies are back and they're all attacking the house. Fast forward to the movie. I don't know if we've given a clear synopsis. Let's do this real quick and then I'll get to my little thing at the end. Theater group goes to an island. They're going to dabble in black magic. It's supposed to be a joke. They bury one of their friends. He jumps up out of the grave to scare everybody. They get pissed. They do a black magic ritual for real. Zombies come out of the ground. They kill them. They get on a boat and they leave to go to off the island to go kill people in Florida. So that's what I was going to get to, is the ending. This is pre Lucio Fulci.
Zombie 2.
Zombie.
Zombie and Zombie 2. How could I not think of that? And so, it's the same thing. The zombies all get on the sailboat, and that's how the movie ends. They're coming to get you.
Well, good thing we don't live in Florida. They'd probably be here by now. That was 1972.
That's a sailboat. Who knows? They might just be spinning in circles. They're smart enough to get on the fucking boat, but not how to steer it. Maybe their rudder was broken. I don't know.
They're in the Bermuda Triangle.
Well, if it's anything else like Zombie 2, I think it was Zombie 2 where the zombie fought the shark underwater. So maybe they tried to fight sharks and just didn't make it. And
I think that's Zombie 1, though.
That was Zombie 1.
You know who wins when a zombie fights a shark? We fucking do. All of us. Right?
Absolutely. Well, let's see at this movie one. I want to hear some ratings. And I think we're going to have Hoover go last. He's the guest. We'll save the best for last. Bryan, I'm interested to hear, because you're always this is one of those movies I have no idea if you liked it or not. Tell me what you think.
Well, this wasn't a first time watch. I've seen this before. It was kind of that journey into horror. And I was like, well, this is a Bob Clark. I got to watch this. One of those that you find on a list of you need to watch horror films. At first, I gave it a 6 out of 10. But after talking to you guys and thinking about it more and its significance, I bumped it up to a 7 out of 10 pissed pants. That poor bastard's probably still wearing those pants he peed in 1972.
No dry Pampers for him.
No dry Pampers. So 7 out of 10 pissed pants. What about you, Clint?
This is such a tough one for me to rate, because I have to be realistic as to what this film is and separate what it is for me. If I was rating this just based on 100%, do I like this movie, like a Clint thing, you know what I mean? Taking out everything that you just talked about, Bryan, and significance and all that, it would be a 10 out of 10. This is one of those movies I've seen a million fucking times. I don't know what it is about this movie that resonates with me. I enjoy it. I know it damn near word for word. I wanted to remake it at one time. I was actually kind of like, oh God, this was 98. I was actually like, kind of like dictation, taking down the dialogue so I could have it written down, and then I was gonna like try to rewrite this movie and do like a remake. It's just a fucking pipe dream. But so if I had to rate it for myself, it would be 10 out of 10. Now I realize its flaws. I realize it's the production value as a whole presented to the horror genre. I don't think this is a 10 out of 10. I'm gonna go with, I'm kind of right there with you, Bryan. I rate this somewhere about like a 7.5, 8. Bryan Hoover renditions of Orville. I don't know if anybody knows this, but Bryan Hoover nails painting Orville. And if he's going to get nailed for like copyright infringement, then I'm just kidding. He doesn't. But if it's not that big a deal, then check out some of his artwork, because he included Orville into the Mural of Madness at the Nugget, also known as Psychotherapy. I was also gifted one. I've seen some in his lineup. 7 out of 8, Bryan Hoover paintings of Orville.
I appreciate that, Clint.
The painting's better than the movie.
I don't know about that, but
the painting is just as good as the movie.
There you go.
So what do you think, Hoover?
Well, if it was mine, I'd go with Clint too with the 10 out of 10, but that's just kind of like a personal type thing. You know, if it's just like your basic audience, I'd probably 7.5, 8 striped pants.
Oh, yeah, striped pants. Next time I see you, I want you to be in striped pants.
I'm going to have to find a pair. I'm going to have to go on eBay or something and find a pair of Alan Ormsby striped pants.
It's probably a brand now.
I wonder if those were like a scratch and sniff, like if they were just like the zebra gum, you chew on them, chew on those funky ass pants, and they lose their flavor in 10 minutes.
I did have a small fun fact about children shouldn't play with dead things. If you're watching Fright Night, 1985.
Yes, I forgot about that.
When Charlie's peeking out the window, peeking out next door with his binoculars and his TV, you can actually see the movie playing in the background with Orville starting to attack Alan there in the bedroom.
Can you imagine having to be fucking Orville and sit in that damn thing all damn day? Because he didn't move until the very end.
At least he was on a bed. He'd probably take a nap or something.
I think what's amazing, and I'm going to share this, I've shared this before on my social media, but it was like earlier, it was like last year sometime. I came across a picture of Vincent Price. Remember, Hoover, I shared this? I came across a picture of Vincent Price, and it was a black and white film, and I can't remember, it was some gothic horror film. I'm looking at his wardrobe and his hair, and he looked just like what Orville would have looked like if he was alive. And I never did research the film. I'll share the pictures. I'll research the film so I'll put the story on the Facebook page there. But
it wasn't the bat, was it?
I don't remember. I know it was black and white. It was a gothic tale. I just know that after I saw that picture, I thought to myself, there's no fucking way that, I think Bob Clark just made the zombie Vincent Price or whatever his character was in that movie.
Well, while you guys research that, I'm going to hop over to the PFPN and listen to some podcasts.
That's fine. But actually, maybe, do you think any of them would know so I don't have to research?
Oh, I could ask them. They're in the process of writing our email about our, misbehaviors. So they might be busy with that.
The meeting?
Yeah, the meeting.
We were still going to have the fucking meeting?
It's supposed to be coming.
We're in trouble, Hoover.
I don't have to attend, do I?
No.
I'm only a guest.
Guilt by association.
It's probably one of those meetings that could be an email, but it's going to be a meeting anyway.
Let's hear from our podcast network, the PFPN.
Before we get in more trouble.
You're listening to the Prescribed Films Podcast Network, home to hundreds of hours of free podcast entertainment. The shows on this network all have a common goal, providing you with the best discussions about movies and other forms of entertainment media. The PFPN hopes to fill your earholes with audio joy. Visit our website with links to all the other amazing shows at www.thepfpn.com. Thanks for listening.
So now that we've heard from our podcast network, it's time for This Day in Horror. And we're covering, God, I wrote down the wrong date. No, that's right. July 8th through July 21st. I think that's right. I don't fucking know. I've been in the sun for like a week, and it's hotter than shit.
A date which will live in infamy.
It's the curse of the Pope. Is it the Pope Lick?
Yeah, the Pope Lick monster.
Pope Lick monster?
Yeah, he's got a Pope hat and it might be a she. Hell, I don't know. It hypnotizes you. Anyway, there's not a Pope Lick movie out yet. But on July 13th in 1984, we got The Last Starfighter and Splatter University. Never seen Splatter University.
I remember seeing the VHS in the video store as a kid, but I don't think I've ever seen that one either.
And then in 1990, I've seen this one. The Invisible Maniac. And then on July 15th, we get Shockwaves in 1977. Orca in 1977. I've never seen that one. Fear in 1990.
Fear had a really good soundtrack. That was kind of an indie film. I think that went direct to video. I don't remember that getting a theatrical release.
That the one with Mark Wahlberg and Alicia Silverstone? Is it that one?
Oh, never mind.
Wasn't it Crush?
Hey, everybody, listen to the show. We have no idea what the fuck it is we're talking about, so never take anything that we say to heart because we can't even figure out which fucking fear we're talking about. There was one with a wooden doll that was like Pinocchio's Revenge or something. That's what I thought you were talking about.
If it's the one I just looked up, it's got Ali Sheedy, Stan Shaw, and Michael O'Keefe. So we're all fucking wrong.
Oh, God help me.
It's got Ali Sheedy in it.
Back to Shockwaves.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a slow movie from 1977, but that was one of those ones I saw on WGN at Grandma and Grandpa's when I was a kid, like Saturday Shocker. And it was something about those zombies, the Nazi zombies rising up out of the water. That was something else.
July 16th in 1958, we get The Fly, the original with Vincent Price. Help me, help me. Was he trapped? I don't know.
You're pretty good at that.
I say it a lot. And then 1993, gateway horror for most people, Hocus Pocus. I don't know. Is that scary? I mean, is anybody scared of Hocus Pocus?
No, but Hocus Pocus is fun.
And then in 1999, you get Lake Placid, and that's fun because it's got Betty White. And then you get one of the most overhyped fucking movies, in my opinion, The Blair Witch Project. I sat through that whole damn thing, and I was like, what? That's it?
I think I've talked about this before. I was one of the people who was on the fence about if that was real or not. I'm sorry, you guys can call me a fucking idiot if you want. I don't care. When that movie came out, I saw that they did the documentary on the Sci-Fi Channel. And that was really kind of like before they did a lot of stuff like that. You know, like the Blair Witch Project set the trend for that stuff. And so I was watching that and I was like, oh my God, is this real? You know, I thought it was real. I thought there was a chance. That was the last movie I went opening night. And that was the last movie where the theater was full. people standing in the fucking aisles. The theater was full, and everybody was so engaged with the film as like this whole audience, and they're screaming and they're laughing and they're crying and all this stuff. And after about 2 minutes of the film, I noticed the different cuts and the way that the angles were put together, and that's when I was like, okay, this is fake. Little side story to that. I'm gonna blah 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 this. So there's a legend in the town where I grew up. Wait, story time with Clint. I still have to come up with music for that. So in the town I grew up, Jackson, Michigan, just about 20 minutes north of me, there's a legend, Little Mary's grave. And I'm not going to go into the whole story. It would take forever, but little girl gets buried alive and, you know, stuff like that. But there actually is Mary McNaughton. There's her grave is there. That's a real thing. The legend is debatable, but so everybody will go out there and screw around, and anything that you would see happen in a horror movie would happen out to Little Mary's grave. Well, we knew where it was. We knew the shortcut. We knew everything about it. We're not the only ones, but so we're outside the theater after the Blair Witch got out, and I'm listening to all these different groups of people, and they're like, "Oh, we're gonna go out to Little Mary's grave. We're gonna go out to Little Mary's grave." So I grab all my buddies and I'm like, "Hurry up, let's get out there. We're gonna hide in the woods." And when whoever comes out, we're just going to scare the fuck out of them, right? We rush out there. We're hiding in the woods. Fucking no one ever showed up. Bunch of punk ass bitches. We sat out there for like 2-3 hours, falling asleep in the woods in the graveyard. Thank God that Alan Ormsby wasn't there. We'd been done for.
They're probably like, we're going to say we're going to go out there, but then these assholes are going to go out there and we're not going to show up.
Someone who probably knew me saw the glimmer in my eye and said, nope, Clint's heading out there. Don't go do it.
Little Mary's laying in there buried alive. Help me. Help me.
Bravo in the full circle, sir. Bravo.
And then July 17th in 1987.
Oh, shit. We're not done yet?
No, we're not done yet. You get RoboCop and Jaws the Revenge. That would have been a fun double feature, right?
What opposite ends of the spectrum is that bullshit? RoboCop is like 10 out of 10 and Jaws 4, The Revenge?
Yeah, but how could you be mad if you watch RoboCop and somebody gets their dick shot off? You could sit through Jaws 4 after that.
If I had to watch RoboCop and then you made me watch Jaws 4, by the time it got all done, I'd look at you and I'd say, what the fuck is going on?
So like on last episode, I don't know. I don't think I have anything going on. I say that and then I'll come back next episode and be like, you should go check out the Red Lobster Monster in Davenport, Iowa. You know, like, I don't know. I'll find something to fucking check out or look at, but I don't think I have anything in July. Oh, wait, July 8th this comes out? No, July 7th. So that weekend, that Thursday, Friday, Saturday,
we're not good at math on this show. I'm not anyway.
Is Snake Alley Festival of Film. So I'm going to check it out Friday and Saturday. I try to go every year for at least a couple days, hang out with some friends from the PFPN, see my buddy Tad Good, who puts on the festival in Burlington, Iowa, check out some horror films, check out some cartoons. They usually have documentaries from all over the world. And this year, Justin Beam's going to be there talking about filmmaking. So I get to hang out with Justin too. But I think that's it. Snake Alley Festival of Film, and probably eat some Napoli's pizza and maybe check out Bigger Boat Collectibles or one of the Weird Harold Records, one of their record shops over there. I think that's all I have going on. Yeah, I'm making up a story about the Red Lobster Monster.
The Red Lobster. That rolls off the tongue nicely. The Red Lobster Monster.
Let me know if you see him.
Yeah.
Get your cheddar biscuits with it if you see him.
Part cheddar biscuit.
No, listen. The Red Lobster Monster. No shit. I'll have to go look up the episode. If anybody listens to the show out, they'll know what I'm talking about. The Red Lobster Monster is in a fucking episode of Night Court.
Probably.
No, he is. I'm dead serious.
Probably part cheddar biscuit, part shrimp scampi.
Shrimp arms.
Part lobster and part server. Imagine that monster.
Asking for a tip. Just
yeah.
a tip.
So yeah, what do you got going on, Hoover? I'm gonna have to start writing this story.
I just finished Clint's mural. God, has it been a month already since I've been out there?
It seems like it's been a month, maybe even a little bit longer. Yeah, we miss you.
Sorry, I miss you too.
Aw.
Oh, making up some artwork. End of July is Motor City Nightmares. Setting up at. I've been doing like kind of like a side type gig with Upper Deck, doing sketch cards. I just finished a couple sets of those. So I don't have anything planned with them right now. But other than that, it's basically just artwork for the show coming up in July.
Now, do you have any other? If I remember right, Nightmares is the only show you have booked this year, correct?
Yeah, that's it. I'm kind of hesitant to travel right now, but probably in the future. I'd love to go to Flashback and set up sometime.
I've been chipping away at Hoover here, Brian, trying to tell him that once with inkmirrors.com, once I finally said fuck it and spread my wings and went, started to go, it just opened up so many doors. You'll get there, and when you're comfortable with it, cool. And I know that you have your amazing stuff will sell all over the place. We see stuff nowhere near as good as what you do at other cons selling really well. So I know it'll work out.
Even if it's just to come hang out with you guys too, I'm sure it would be a blast.
No. We're not going to hang. No, you're not. No, sorry. No, we're not hanging out with you. I just want to see you sell your artwork.
I want to see the lobster guy.
Clint will come hang out with you. I'll be running the Ink Mirrors table.
Okay, that's fine. We'll go get some autographs and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's what they usually do. They're like, oh, we're going to go get some autographs. We'll be back. It's like there's no line over there at...
I'll be right back. And then it's like 4 hours later.
I swear to God, I try not to do it. I try my best, but this is how it always goes. Brian, I'm running out to have a smoke. I'll be right back. 17 conversations, one line for an autograph, a drink at the bar, a nap in the room later. I come back, go, I'm so sorry it took me so long. You wouldn't believe what happened on my way to the bathroom.
We filmed Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things 2 while I was gone.
Yeah.
Wrote the script, filmed the movie. It's ready to go. We're going to have it showing at the drive-in next week.
I grab him by his shirt, yank him in, and push him back and say, you're Orville. Go get makeup on. What the fuck is going on?
So what do you got going on, Clint? I mean, you could check out Bryan Hoover's artwork at Motor City Nightmares.
I get to see Bryan Hoover's artwork every day when I go out to the nugget that will be known as psychotherapy. And it was really cool. When Hoover finished that, it was him, myself, and Boots were there. And he got done, and we're looking at it, and we're just trying to take it all in because there is so much. It is so layered. There's a lot of horror celebrity references, some by accident, some on purpose. And we're just looking at the whole thing and really trying to take it in. And then for whatever reason, all of a sudden, I took this light, this kind of drop light above it in the middle, and I turned all the lights off and I turned this light on. Correct me if I'm telling the story wrong, Hoover, but it just, the whole fucking painting came to life. It became this like whole interdimensional thing and took on a whole new life. And it was just amazing. In fact, so Hoover finally packed up and left because he lives like, it's close to 2 hours away from where I'm at there. Yeah. And Boots and I sat there for a good another 45 minutes to an hour just looking at this thing, in amazement. Very cool that you did that. It's going to bring a lot of joy to a lot of people. And we're going to see pictures of it everywhere because it's a photo op.
Yeah. I don't know what it was, but ever since you just added that one light fixture above it, to me, it just gave it like so much depth. I mean, it is supposed to be a asylum hallway, and I don't know what did it, but that light to me turned the whole thing on. I guess
Hoover turned me on. Yeah, it added a whole new, just added new life to it. As far as what I got going on, other than sitting at the Nugget, not doing what I should be doing because I'm too busy staring at the fucking mural. Nothing like I didn't say before. It's go time. So I'm actually getting ready to take stock of what I got for inkmirrors.com. Getting ready. I'm going to be at Nightmares set up by Hoover as well. Got a few new designs I'm going to do. And that's kind of just what I'm doing. Just focusing on that, focusing on the Nugget, focusing on relationship stuff, all kinds of great stuff.
Are you heading this way in end of July, Brian, or no?
No, I got Snake Alley, and I just started new jobs. It's with the same company, but in a different department. So I'm like, I need to not ask for a bunch of days off to start out with, especially just getting back from Kentucky for a week.
You can tell them that your children are filming Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things too.
And they'll be like, what the fuck is that?
You got to have that weekend off.
But I think after our trip to Louisville this year and the zoo and everything, I really think Detroit Zoo needs visited again. It's still top zoo that we've been to in the last 8 years.
Well, don't forget, though, next time you come up, you also have to check out Screamer's Costumes, and you have to make it over to Weirdsville Records. And you have to drive by Hoover's place and throw eggs at his windows.
I'm not far from Screamer's, so you want to stop by and have lunch or something.
We could save the eggs. We could eat them for lunch.
There you go. I'll make you an egg sandwich or something.
So you could check out Bryan Hoover's artwork on Instagram.
Either it's bhoove007 or I just started one that's the art of Bryan Hoover. I still have a lot to upload on that one, but basically everything I've done within the past few years is on the bhoove007 handle.
When psychotherapy opens up, you can go out there and check that out. You're going to be at Motor City Nightmares. You can go buy some stuff. I mean, you're one of the few artists that sells originals that are decently priced. Usually these people are like, oh, you want an original? Here, $500. And you're like, what? Yeah.
I'll charge $700.
Okay, well, yeah. They'll probably sell because they'll be like, if it's $700, it's got to be a great artist. What you are, but
this just turned into an episode of The Price is Right. Like, I'll say $700, Brian.
$1.
Something I want to say about Hoover's artwork too is he is also not just a horror fan, but I mean he's a Star Wars fan, Indiana Jones, the 007 stuff. When you see him, if you get on in line and look at his artwork, it's not just horror fans. There's a lot of pop culture, a lot of fantasy, a lot of other things in there, a lot of sci-fi. So I think you offer a little bit for everybody, which I think is always cool because we always bring up the word gateway. Take a shot. And I think that's important because you can bring in fans of other genres who can look at your work and say, that's beautiful. What is that? And they might discover a movie like Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things that they've never seen because of your rendition of Orville. So,
I mean, I could indulge in like everything. It could even be like fishing or nature or stuff like that. It doesn't matter, but I mean, I'm mostly in tune. I love films. It doesn't matter if it's horror, action, comedies. I mean, I'll draw it. I just love to draw and paint because everything I've always wanted to do was movie posters for a living, but it's just so far fetched because everybody does it or everything's all digital now. But I can make my own. Enjoy it that way.
Well, there's always the slip covers. You said fishing. One of the funnest movies that we've watched, or I've watched with the podcast, we watched Blades, but then there's a movie about a serial killer at a fishing tournament called Bloodhook.
That one I still have to watch.
If you told me 4 years ago, has it been 4 years, Clint? Were we going on 4 years of the podcast?
Jesus Christ, don't make me, I know I got gray in my beard, but don't make me older than I am. Is it really 4 years?
In October, I think it'll start the 4th year. But I mean, if you'd have told me 3 years ago that I would have done all the things that we've done with the podcast, I'd be like, you're fucking nuts. We're just going to record some stuff and put it up, and some people might listen and some people won't listen. And yeah, the stuff we've done, I'm just part of the fun, sharing it with the world. You have talent.
And we don't even have any fucking talent like you do. Look how far we made it.
Yeah.
Bunch of fucking talented ass clowns.
Talk about lobster people.
Yeah, really.
Did I say that right? Yeah.
So what do you think? Should we wrap it up?
We told everybody where to find Bryan Hoover. And I mean, if you're listening to this show, you probably know where to find us because you found it because you're listening to it. But I guess we should tell them where to find us too, in case you're new. In case you're new kid on the block.
Facebook, X. I almost said Twitter again. Twitter, X, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Slasher. Is that all of them? Is there any new ones since? What about that Hawk 2? Have you?
Oh,
yeah, I was out of town all week for that, and I finally figured out it was today. So that'll be the next website that comes up.
You reminded me. I started drinking this new beer I came across called Horny Monk. You're like the horny fucking monk this episode. What is going on with you?
I don't know. It's the sun.
Go take it's the sun. Go take a cold shower. Hey, I said something about New Kids in the Block. This is crazy. Hoover, you live here in Michigan. So New Kids in the Block was recently at Pine Knob, like earlier the week of this recording.
Okay.
You wouldn't believe the amount of fucking people. I said the word talentless ass clowns. The amount, it was jam-packed, all the pictures I saw. And I kept seeing pictures of all these people that I know that were there for New Kids in the Block.
Yeah, my sister, I mean, she's a few years older than I am. But, during the late 80s, early 90s, she was all into it, and I got stuck listening to it too, watching the videos, and oh god, and now they're back in full force again 30 years later, still calling all the women in.
Yeah, that's crazy, right? Isn't it? Yeah, there weren't too many dudes at that concert. Well, you'll find Bryan Hoover online and painting something somewhere. You'll find New Kids on the Block seducing middle-aged soccer moms. And you'll find Bryan and I keep talking about horror movies in this. Subscribe wherever you listen to your podcast. I'm tired. Bye-bye.
Keep hanging tough.
I'm trying.
He's got the right stuff.
What do you think this is all about? You think this is a fucking costume? This is a way of life.